Herzlich willkommen zum Kung Fu Talk. Heute Abend mit dem Grossmeister Steve L. Martin aus New Jersey. Weit weg von uns, dank Zoom, haben wir die Möglichkeit, dass wir mit ihm direkt Kontakt haben können. Er ist bereits da bei mir auf dem Zoom-Bildschirm. Ihr seht ihn auf YouTube. Wir werden das ganze Interview auf Englisch halten, so gut mein Englisch ist, aber wir werden das schon hinkriegen. Der Grandmaster Martin ist der Präsident zurzeit von der World Kuoshu Federation, einer weltweiten Organisation für traditionelles Kung Fu. So, welcome, Grandmaster Martin. Very nice to have you here. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So, Grandmaster, what time in your life did you start with martial arts?
I started the martial arts in 1955. I went into the military, and after I finished my basic training, I started training in the martial arts, and I was sent to Okinawa, Japan, and that's how I became introduced to karate.
Okay, you start with karate. How many years did you practice karate?
I practiced karate actively for about 14 or 15 years, but I also was practicing judo at the same time.
Okay, so through your military service, you go to different country and you have the chance to go to Japan and learn directly from the source, right?
Yes, I was very fortunate, Martin, in that at the time I joined the military, the military was sending students to Japan to learn self-defense so that we could train our own people. So I was in the third group of military people that were sent to Tokyo to study judo, karate, and aikido at the Kodokan Judo Institute.
Okay. Was it easy to get taught by the Japanese masters?
It was very difficult because it was only like 10 years after the war had ended. So sometimes some of the feelings were not as good. The instructors were very talented, but sometimes they were not really sure they trusted some of the American servicemen's attitudes or desires to learn. But that changed over the years.
Okay, so the first impression was like a little bit like they don't like to teach you?
Yeah, they were being paid by the United States government to teach us, but they were very, very hard on us. I think they were harder on us than they were on some of the Japanese students, for sure.
Okay, so I know you must go to the Chinese Kung Fu, to the Chinese Kuoshu. So how you go to this direction? Why you go to this direction?
Well, now that's a long travel road because I was sent to Okinawa, and I stayed in Okinawa to study karate. So my first true long-time studies in karate was in Okinawa, where I studied an art called Shorin-ryu, which means young forest. And it actually is the same kind of words as Shaolin, young forest. So I studied Okinawan karate, and after studying Okinawan karate, I came back to the United States, but there weren't very many people studying Okinawan karate or knew about Okinawan karate. So I was trying to find other people, and it was very difficult. But I stayed in Okinawan karate for 14 to 15 years.
Was a very long time, I think. But how you came? You think too? How you came to the Chinese Kung Fu?
I lived in a city called Philadelphia, which is on the east coast of the United States, about 100 miles from New York City. And I used to go to Chinatown quite frequently, and I met a gentleman who had a restaurant in Chinatown. His name was Jin Fu Mak, and he taught Hakka, Southern Mantis Kung Fu. So I told him I was going to be going to Hong Kong, and could he recommend any teachers? So he gave me a letter of introduction to give to any teacher that I met, recommending me as a good person to study Kung Fu. So when I got to Hong Kong, the first school I went to was the Praying Mantis School. So that's when I pretty much started Kung Fu. But then I started a martial arts exhibition in Hong Kong. And you're going to be really laughing when I tell you this part, because it was a Hunggar demonstration that caught my attention. And it was the school of great Grandmaster Chiu Kow. And so I went to his school, and he accepted me to come and train with him for the time I was in Hong Kong, which was a very short time. But I had thought I was going to study with Grandmaster Chu Chi-Ling, but he was making a movie at the time. So I got the tough person. I got Grandmaster Chiu Kow, and it was very, very tough. Very tough.
Which year this was?
It was in, I think it was around 64, 63, 64.
So very early comparing
Yes.
to now.
Yeah.
And at that time, how was the teaching under Chiu Kow?
He put a lot of emphasis on making the body strong. A lot of emphasis. And we stayed in horse stance for a long time. Now, today's students, I don't know if they would stay in horse stance that long. But he was very a strong teacher, but a very humble man. Very humble man.
Can you still remember what he teach you?
I remember the first form that he taught was Gunji Fu. And that was the form he emphasized for us beginners.
Yes, right. And did you complete this form?
I completed the form, but unfortunately, I didn't stay in Hong Kong long enough to learn the curriculum of Hunggar. So I never wrote in my bio or anything I was a Hunggar person, because I don't believe that would be fair to the real Hunggar students.
Okay, very interesting. So Chiu Chi-Ling and Chiu Kow was a mark on your way, on your martial art way. Very interesting for us Hunggar people.
I would say that family introduced me to true Kung Fu, yes.
Okay. And then after a few months, you have to leave Hong Kong. What did you?
I left Hong Kong after like 7 months. And then I applied, I was in the military, so I applied to go to Taiwan, because I wanted to stay in Chinese martial arts. So I was very fortunate after a year back in the United States to be sent to Taiwan.
But I can imagine that the Taiwan master, they don't wait for you. I think they maybe, like the Japanese before, they don't like to teach foreigner people.
Well, when I went to my first teacher's school, who became my permanent teacher, he never really spoke to me for almost 2 weeks. He just acknowledged I was there. He never really let me go on the floor and train. He just told me to sit and watch.
So you have only to watch. You cannot actively on the training.
He would not let me do anything, and so I almost was going to find another school. Then the last day I went back, he handed me a uniform and accepted me as a student.
Wow. Okay. So how long you have to watch his lesson?
I think maybe 4 classes, 5 classes, where he would let me become a student.
Okay. So he tests you.
Yes.
Okay. And how long?
I was the only American that was in the building. Everyone else was Taiwanese.
Okay. So they maybe don't trust the foreigner people, right?
Well, I think they didn't believe that many foreigners would be disciplined enough to follow their culture. But once they saw that uh, myself and some of my other friends were dedicated, that again changed.
Okay. So your first lesson, how they look. So what did you lesson?
I was very much surprised at the difference between how we trained in Okinawa and how they trained in Taiwan. And in Taiwan, the teacher did not interact with you as much as the teachers did in Okinawan karate. The teacher would walk around and do a few things, but basically it wasn't the stand in line drill kind of thing that you did in karate.
How did you understand the teacher?
Believe it or not, my teacher spoke Japanese better than he spoke Mandarin Chinese. He tended to speak the Chinese Taiwanese language, and he was fluent in Japanese because he had lived in Taiwan when the Japanese occupied Taiwan as a young person. And so I had to talk to him basically in Japanese terminology, but then his brother was a school, so his brother spoke 4 different languages. So when his brother would come to the studio, the class, his brother spoke fluent English.
Okay, so but at that time you cannot speak any Chinese, right?
No, I was very confused because I had been in Hong Kong where they spoke Cantonese, and now I'm in Taiwan where they speak Japanese, Taiwanese, and Mandarin Chinese, and I'm like very confused. I am very
okay. So you have all the terms in 3 languages, right?
Yes, and I had a bad habit, Martin, of putting them all together.
I think it's not easy to separate them as a beginner. Which style did you practice in Taiwan?
In Taiwan, my teacher taught what was called Southern Shaolin Fist, which was like, I think they called it 5 animal style. And then he taught Fujen White Crane.
Okay. And then your journey, how did they go on? How your trip goes on in the martial art?
Well, once I became addicted to my teacher's method and his style and his school and the respect that the people in Taiwan in the city of Taichung had for him, I knew I was going to stay with him for as long as I could. So being in the military, I was able to manipulate some assignments to keep going back and forth to Taiwan. So I ended up staying with my teacher until his passing. So I stayed with him for over 45 years.
45 years?
He was my only teacher from that point on.
Oh, okay. This is a very long time. And how was to teach your army friends, the military people, how was to teach them?
He encouraged me to start teaching some of the military people that we knew would not really work out that well at his school in the city. So I started a class on the military base where I taught military people, and then selected people I would take to his school to work with us. But most of the military people I taught in a separate class with just Americans.
Okay. So maybe you can only teach the basic at that time because military people cannot stay so long, right?
Well, the tour of duty in Taiwan for military people at that time was, I think, 15 or 18 months. But you could extend your tour of duty. So most people only stay the basic 15 months of tour of duty.
Okay, so it's maybe very difficult for them to go really deep in the martial arts in a so short time.
That's right. Most of them, I would say, probably never stayed in the martial arts after they left Taiwan, or maybe they went to another style of martial arts. But in Taiwan, they still had a lot of traditional martial arts, as opposed to mainland China at the time was starting to lean toward wushu.
The modern wushu, as we call it right now.
Yeah, contemporary martial art. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So your journey. So you found your teacher. You go his way. So how the training looks like?
Again, just like Grandmaster Chiu Kow, my teacher was very adamant about body conditioning and strength, putting your hands in the beads and the stones and that kind of conditioning. The forms were not as complex as Hunggar type form, not as long, but the training regimen, sometimes classes were 2.5, 3 hours long.
Yes, this I know in Hong Kong as well. Sometimes the classes are very long.
Yes.
Different to Western style.
Yes.
Yes. And then you always travel to USA, back to Taiwan, USA, Taiwan, like that?
Yes. At that point, I'd been in the military for quite a while. And so I was able to use my influence with some friends in the military to go from, say, one assignment to stay there for a short period of time and then be assigned back to Taiwan. So I ended up with having maybe 3 or 4 tours of duty in Taiwan.
Okay.
And after that, after I got out of the military, I took my students back to Taiwan every 2 years. And I done that all the way up to 2019 was our last trip.
19, so before the pandemic.
Yeah, 2019 was our last trip.
Okay, so you still go to Taiwan actually?
Yes, I was adopted into my teacher's family, so I consider his family my family, and I was made an honorary citizen of the country, and so I think I solidified my roots there, and I have so many friends, and my teacher's family is my family.
Do you have contact during the year with your master?
Yes, we have through technology, internet, Facebook, all of those things, and my wife gets a lot of time and we've had them come to visit my home as well. And one of my teacher's friends, his daughter went to school in America, and she stayed with us on numerous occasions. She was in she went to school in San Francisco, but she would always come visit us on the East Coast.
Okay. That's very nice, huh? Very nice. Good relationship, right?
Yes.
How it becomes that you are the successor of this style? How this happens?
It was very, very strange because my teacher he has 2 sons, but I taught his sons. I taught in Taiwan, but his sons never wanted to stay in the martial arts. They wanted to become businessmen. So when his sons decided they didn't want to stay in the martial arts, my teacher's senior student decided he didn't want to train anymore. So my teacher said that in order for me to carry on the legacy, he would adopt me as his son. So traditionally, that's how that happened.
Yes, yes. So how about your fighting experience? Did you fight a lot?
Yeah, that's a nice question. Thank you. I tell people all the time that coming from the city of Philadelphia on the East Coast in America. I never got into the martial arts to learn how to fight. I knew how to fight very well as growing up in the city. So martial arts really gave me more equipment, more information. We fought a lot when I trained in Okinawa, full contact kind of fighting with the equipment on. And in Hong Kong, not so much. But in Taiwan, I was fortunate enough to win the first full contact tournament I entered, and I was the first American that ever.
Okay, so you did fight a lot. How about the non-tournament fights on the street?
I'm proud to say that this is my 66th year in the martial arts. And I've only had to use the martial arts in self-defense maybe 10 times in my life. Maybe 10.
Okay, so happy enough, right?
Yeah, well, I think, as you get older, you learn to have a different mindset. You learn to not have things upset you as much. And you learn to look at life a little differently. I never got into the martial arts.
What's happened?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be talking. My wife just came back.
Okay.
But, so I teach my students that it's very important that they not look at the martial arts as fighting. That fighting, let's look at it this way. Let's call it a deterrent. You learn to protect yourself, but you hope you never really have to use it.
Yes, I understand. This is like we all in the martial arts, I think we have this thinking, this idea, this mindset. This is true, yes. So how old you are now?
I am 83 years of age.
83. Wow, you look so young.
Yes. What did I tell you was my secret?
Yes, I know the secret, but I don't tell now to everybody because it's a secret, right? Nowadays, you still teach on your school?
Yes, I believe that if you stop teaching, you can set a bad example. Because I've always believed that you should lead by example. So if I'm not doing something, but I'm asking my students to do something, that's not fair. I think that I should always lead by example. I think more importantly, as you get older, you have so much information that you need to get to your students. And you have to make sure that you follow the responsibility of getting that information to your students, because when you're gone, that's the end of the road for transfer of energy.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Very good answer. And nowadays, you still practice every day?
No. I wish that I could have the ability to say I practice every day. I would say 4 days a week.
Okay, that's still very good.
Yeah.
How many?
She told me to lower my volume.
Okay, it's too loud.
She said it's too loud.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Are you good? I'm
better?
Good.
Okay, yes. Good. Okay. Okay. How many students now you have internationally?
Well, that's hard to say because we have a lot of students who are kind of like in limbo because of COVID, and we have restrictions on how many people that we could have training in our facilities. So I think that we still have a student in California who has some activity going, a student in Maryland that has activities going. We have our headquarters here in New Jersey, So it would be hard to put a number on it, really, at this point.
But you're still very active, as I see.
Oh, yes, sir. We stay active. Definitely stay active.
So after all, your way, did you explain how you come to the Kuoshu world?
In I think 70 something or 80 something, I was in an organization that had an association with Taiwan, but it didn't work out very well. And so I really was in no Chinese-based organization. And then in 1990 or 1991, I was invited to go to the Kuoshu tournament in Maryland. And I went to the tournament in Maryland, and at that time, the leadership there were part of the International Chinese Kuoshu Federation in Taiwan. So my teacher agreed that I could join that organization, and because they were related to Taiwan, and I got affiliated with them in 1991, and I've been associated with that organization since that time.
Okay, where there you meet Grandmaster Huang Chenyang?
Yes, a very interesting story. I met Grandmaster Huang Chenyang, and he told me who his teacher was. And when he told me who his teacher was, I mentioned to him that I had previously met his teacher because his teacher was from the same town that I lived in, Taichung, Taiwan.
Okay.
So I had actually visited his teacher's home 2 or 3 times because they're very close-knit martial arts community in Taichung City. So that was really interesting.
So sometimes it's a very small world, right?
Yes, that's true. That is true.
So how the World Kuoshu Federation was founded?
The World Kuoshu Federation was founded because at one point, I believe things in Taiwan, which were government supported, kind of fell apart or went into disarray. And so Grandmaster Wang felt that we needed to maintain a stronger group and a stronger organization because the funding of martial arts in Taiwan wasn't as big or as widespread as it had been. So I think he decided at that point that in the interest of the organization and promoting Kuoshu, that he would form a world organization that would keep it going, which didn't depend upon funding from a government.
So that was the point the World Kuoshu Federation was founded, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How many years now the World Kuoshu Federation is running?
Well, we've been in existence now for over 15 years as a world organization, and we are the umbrella organization for the United States Kuoshu Federation.
So how many countries now follow this association?
Well, as of right now, we have more than 50 countries that are involved in the World Kuoshu Federation as members countries.
You are the president right now. I think it's the second time you are the president of the organization, right?
No, I was elected 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my first term. I succeeded Grandmaster Richard Lee, and we have a rule in our bylaws similar to the president election in the United States that you can only serve 2 terms as president. So I succeeded Grandmaster Richard Lee as president. So this is my first term.
Okay. So what's your goal for your time as a president?
Well, basically, my goal is to make sure that traditional martial arts, which I'm a proponent of, continues to grow, continues to be spread, and continues to have a venue where students can interact with each other on a worldwide basis. It's okay to have your own school or have your own country, but I think, as you know, I met you because of the Kuoshu organization, and
Right.
had it not been for the Kuoshu organization, I might not have ever met you, who I treasure as a friend. So yourself, some of my friends in Germany, Brazil, Argentina, all over the world, I would not have met and interacted with if not for World Grocery Federation.
Yes, that's true. So we have a very good relationship and many friends all over the world. And this is because of the World Kuoshu Federation. That's right.
I think that's true. And I think that we've been able to maintain a lot of harmony, even though we have different styles and different roots and different legacies. I think we are nonpartisan. You know, we welcome all traditional martial artists, and we interact for the betterment of the martial arts.
That sounds very good. So, regarding your goal for the World Kuoshu Federation, how far you are already in your past, and what you think this will be the next step to go on?
Well, the next step has already started. We've in the past year, even though COVID has hit us, we've had 5 new member organizations join the World Kuoshu Federation. Most recently, one from India just recently joined our organization, and they have a lot of Kuoshu activity in India, and they're now part of our organization. So I think we can continue to grow by spreading the harmony and the friendship and the interaction that we've done so far, that has taken place through Grandmaster Wang's direction.
Sounds very good. If somebody is interested in the World Kuoshu Federation, you can of course contact the website. I think we can also put it on the description of this video, and I think it's easy to contact the organization. So we still welcome people.
Yes, we have our own Facebook page, and I think that the address and email and all of that is all on that webpage, and the information relative to membership and so forth is all outlined right there.
Okay, so this is a little advertisement for the World Kuoshu Federation, but that's okay.
Why not?
So let's talk about your career. So can you give us a description about your style, about your Kung Fu style?
My present style?
Yes.
Yes. I don't really claim a lot of expertise in some of the things I've studied, but my chosen discipline has kind of evolved to become the Fujen white crane discipline, which was founded in the 1600s by a female martial arts student whose father was a Shaolin teacher, and she developed the white crane system based upon the imitation of the large bird, the white crane. And I find it very strange that a person my size, I'm 6'1", and I weigh over 250 pounds, gravitated to something like that. But I found that the facets of white crane, as we study it in our discipline, is a lifelong endeavor. You can practice it forever. And it has techniques that are simplistic enough to be effective, yet concentrated enough to make you work very hard. So that's my chosen discipline. The white crane discipline is really unique in that there are very many variations. The system was founded, as I said, in the 1600s, but over that period of time, it has evolved into numerous sub-styles or sub-disciplines, such as flying crane, crying crane, whooping crane, resting crane, and so forth. and they all have their own ideas of how to proceed with the techniques, but they all have the same basic roots. Because all of the styles from Fujen are pretty much similar. White eyebrow style, um, some styles of Wing Chun, some styles of Black Ancestor Fist. They all have the same similarity because they all basically develop in that area in Fujian.
If somebody don't know how to fight, how it looks if somebody with a white crane style fights, can you give us a description how they fight?
Well, the thing that's really strange is that if you think that a female developed a fighting style that has lasted since the 1600s, then you've got to understand that it must be effective. Otherwise, all of those men who have had that style go extinct years ago. The biggest facet probably is elusiveness, speed, and enter power. So the ability to strike someone with a lot of force based upon internal energy rather than just using external energy. Secondly, the long arm techniques similar to what you have in Hunggar, which are based upon the wings of the crane. So you have styles like Hunggar, Schule foot, Hung foot, other styles that all have white crane techniques in them. But when you look at pure white crane, you don't see as much of the hard as you see more of the soft and the elusive styles, types of techniques.
Sounds very interesting.
Yeah. It works.
It works, yeah. I remember your demonstrations in Baltimore. I think it's very impressive.
Oh, you were watching?
Yes. I'm not the only one, don't worry.
I see, I see.
So very good. So at the advanced level of your style, what's the difference between the basic and the middle and the advanced? What is different in your style?
Well, I would say that like any other system, you start with footwork or groundwork, the ability to be rooted, without being immobile, the ability to be rooted and be able to move. So the basic standing posture for Fujian white crane is the Sanchin stance, which is very similar to the stance they have in Okinawan karate called Sanchin. And a stance that has the weight in the center of your body rather than spread out. So you have more mobility, but you do have stability as well. So when a student is learning, probably the most difficult thing is learning the footwork. And then secondly, the breathing is kind of foreign to some people. And then I think the last facet is the flexibility. How to strike in a fluid and flexible manner. Now, if you ball your fist up and you make a hard punch, everybody can understand it. But if I strike you with my fingertips or the palm of my hand and it has the same effect, that's hard to understand. So many times when I'm doing exhibitions, people go, does that really hurt? And then I have to say, step forward. And once I explain it to them, you see the process, they're baffled to generate that much energy and that much force without it looking like a flow.
Okay, thanks a lot. How about the weapon in your system?
Okay, the weapons depends upon the sub-styles. So many of the sub-styles, white crane, use many of the same weapon systems that you see in normal Kung Fu or Kuoshu practitioners. Anything from tiger forks to dowels to swan dowels to spear
to swords, and so forth. Our particular discipline focuses on double daggers, a staff, a fan, and sometimes the students can use a straight sword, but that's very rare in our particular system. But I have a friend in Canada who teaches a system called flying crane, and they use almost all of the weapons that are used in Shaolin Kung Fu.
Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. Sounds good. So for our viewer, I like to recommend this book. Can you see it like that? This is all is all about his life, his career, and I think it's. Can you see like that?
Yes.
All the pictures, a lot of pictures, a lot about the history and all big steps of his life. It's not very expensive. I think it's about, I don't know, 30 Swiss francs or something like that. Not very expensive. If you are interested, it's also the link is down in the description. So you can order this. Also advertisement.
And it has pictures of Grandmaster Martin Sword in that book.
Yes, me too. And also Chiu Qiling is and Chiu Kow and Yu Ying. All of them are in the book. And it's all about his history. I think it's a very good book. And if you are interested in Kung Fu, I think it's a must for you. You should have this book.
Thank you.
I know you cannot make profit on this book because it's too expensive, too much work. So if somebody make a book like that, there is not on money. This is just because you like to do, or your people, your students ask you to do. This is not about money.
It's a very important point because, as I said, I'm 83 years of age. And my students have constantly said to me, you have to put down in writing some of the things that you've done in your martial arts career and in your life. And so my students pursued me to publish the book. And I would say for the last 20 years, people have been asking me to write it. And I finally got around to writing it, I think in last September, or September 2020, I think it was.
Okay, so to ask about the next tournament, how about the US Kuoshu tournament in Baltimore? Do you know anything about that?
Yes, we are on track right now to still host our tournament in Baltimore this July, end of July. And right now, some of the government restrictions in America are starting to become less stringent, and we're hopeful that come the end of the summer, we'll be able to have that event without any problems, and that the facility will be available and people will be comfortable enough to attend the event, because we will be taking all the appropriate safety precautions as recommended by the government.
What are the rules right now? What they need to do if they have to come to the tournament?
Well, basically, on the United States Kuoshu Federation website, we have all of the information. We have just opened registration 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago we opened registration, so people can register. All that information is outlined there. All of the rules are there, and all of the information relative to pricing, divisions, and so forth are there. And as you know, having attended that event so many times yourself, it is a top shelf, high class event. And I'm not just saying that because I'm involved with it, but it is manifested itself over the years as a quality event that hosts many prominent martial artists, yourself included.
Yes, to say the truth, this is one of the best tournaments I was ever attend. It's really a very good tournament. So if you have the chance to go there, I think you should go there. Next question for you, still another way about your career. So now you are 83. You have somebody who follow your steps?
Yes, I have a different view on discipleship than some of my peers, and I've had a lot of good things happen in my martial arts career, and sometimes not so many good things. But at this point of my life, I have designated that my successor is going to be my wife. You've met her, you've seen her perform. She's been in the martial arts over 30 years, and she is equipped at this point to take over and carry on my personal legacy. At this point, she is my designated successor.
Oh, that's very nice, very nice. I know Judy as well. So
yeah,
she's a very nice person, very humble and very polite. So I like her very much. It's a good decision, I think, as far as I can say that.
Yeah, you. Okay, I see.
Okay, Grandmaster Martin, last question, or one of the last questions. What do you like to say to all the people who watch this now? Have you some information, some greeting or whatever you like to tell them?
Well, I basically would like to say this. I would like to say that the martial arts, Kung Fu, Karate, whatever discipline, has enriched my life. It has caused me to grow to be a better person. It has caused me to be a kinder person. And I think that the value of the martial arts has to be looked at as a totality. You can't just look at it as being a good fighter or being a good forms person or being a good weapons person. I think that's only a small part of martial arts. I always say to people, so if you study the martial arts, what are you going to do when you can't do the martial arts anymore? What has the martial arts done to enrich your life? And what have you done as a martial arts person to enrich the life of other people? So I think that one of the things that I recommend and I advocate about the martial arts is, number one, look at the number of friends that I have that are not in the martial arts. Not many. Most of my friends in my life are involved in the martial arts or have been involved in the martial arts. Secondly, as I mentioned before, would I have ever met you? Would I have ever met the people of Argentina or Brazil or China or Taiwan if not for the martial arts? No. And so my life is a life of a martial arts person. And I think that without it, my life would be different. But if I had to do it all over again, there were very few changes I would make in my life, in my journey. So when my time is up, I can look back and say the martial arts enriched my life, and the interaction with people like yourself and other martial arts teachers, masters, Sifu, has caused us all to be better people for it.
Very nice words. Thanks a lot. So, Grandmaster Martin, I'd like to thank you for this interview. Thank you for your time. I know it's a time change between Switzerland and New Jersey, so thanks a lot for taking this on you. I'd like to make an end here. I hope you stay a little bit with me on Zoom, but from all our viewers, I'd like to say bye-bye, if this is okay for you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thanks a lot, Grandmaster Martin.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Anytime. You are a good friend of mine, and I always enjoy the time with you. Please hold on. I like to say goodbye to the viewers. So, danke vielmals für euer Zuschauen. Ich hoffe, wenn ihr Fragen habt, habt ihr die gestellt. Ich habe jetzt kein Zeichen bekommen, dass irgendeine Frage da wäre. Aber ja, sonst könnt ihr auch nachher die Frage noch stellen. Ich werde die versuchen zu beantworten und sonst werde ich den Grandmaster Martin fragen entsprechend. Ich danke vielmals und wünsche einen wunderschönen Abend.